Hello, everybody. Episode 26 of Ain't This the Fun podcast with our usual bi-weekly guest, Mr. Erik Childress.
Hello, everyone. While watching live, watching later, hello to all of you.
Yeah, everybody's included.
Absolutely.
We are equal opportunity.
Inclusion.
Yes,
The
inclusion.
word more people need to know.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Easy word. Inclusion. Flows off the tongue.
It's a positive word.
Practice. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
No. Well, for some it might be.
But it's not. They just choose not to do it.
Yeah.
Their word is ignore. Exclude.
Exclude.
Yes.
This is include.
Yes. Another word that flows right off the tongue, asshole.
Or the opposite of that, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's more important. There it is right there. It's more important. You know, it's nice to be important, but it's more important
to be nice.
That's right.
Well done. For now, I'm still on a every 2 week situation. So we're just gonna kind of maybe keep doing this for a while. I think might start streaming a little bit more.
We have been. I've been doing videos.
Last week I talked about, or 2 weeks ago I talked about trying Rumbleverse, the wrestling battle royale game.
Yes.
No guns, just elbow drops.
Okay.
And I streamed some of that, my first attempt at playing, and it's as ridiculous as it sounds.
Okay.
I was literally jumping off of the roof of buildings, dropping an elbow all the way down on the street.
Good.
Like skyscrapers and stuff.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, atomic head drops, all kinds of stuff. The funniest part is instead of collecting weapons or armor or doing things like that, your upgrades are basically protein powders for speed, strength, and like stamina. And then your weapons, since there's no weapons, is the ability to learn more devastating wrestling moves.
Oh, good.
And so as you break open the crates, instead of a better gun or a better attachment for your gun, it's these big cartoonish books with like little cartoon rumblers on them. And when you read it, it then tells you like, a 1,000-hand slap, like E Honda from Street Fighter. That might be a move where you get like 6 or 8 punches in, or atomic wedgie, or that kind of thing, atomic head drop. And when you hit it, you can then choose a slot to have it in, and then you have it at your disposal. But obviously, the more powerful the move, the more stamina you need. So you're looking for that. Everyone else is doing the same thing. But the best is when you run around, you can hear people like fighting in the distance. You'll come around the corner of a building, and there'll be like 8 teams of 2. So there'll be like 16 people. They're all jumping and doing elbow drops and flying up in the air and smashing, and people on their heads. It was fun. It was a good time for what it was. Adam's here. Hello, Adam. How are you? So yeah, it was a fun time. I think that was the first time I had played a game on the day it had come out. So I'm gonna try to do a little bit more of that as well, which I did yesterday, and I'll talk about that pretty soon here too. But there's pretty much been that. Did a little bit of yard work over the weekend, but positive thing, but started out bad, was I replaced a bunch of light switches in the house.
Okay.
And you go, why would you replace a bunch of light switches? I don't have the old-timey ones with the like buttons, the top button, bottom button, like from the 20s and 30s.
Yes.
I don't have those. They're not that old. It's the standard switch, the little like, I don't know, nipple, for lack of a better term, the little lever switch.
Sure. Yeah.
But I always was like, I love those flat, the little bevel, the little like, they're just flat switches. They're rectangular, and they only come out of the wall about a millimeter or two. And you just sort of rub your hand on the wall, and it flicks them on and off. There's no lever coming out, no little switch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Paddle switches, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Rubbing and flicking. I got it.
Sure.
Yeah.
It makes turning on the light way more exciting.
That's right.
I always wanted to change them out. And I was just going to periodically go get, because you can get them by the box, like 10 at a time. I think you even get them like 20. Contractors will buy like a giant box, like 100, because they're, doing houses or whatever.
Yeah.
One of these days, I was like, oh, I'll get a bunch and this and that. Kept putting it off. Well, we have one weird light sort of in the center of the house. And you kind of access it from the front door, the kitchen, the hall, and it's kind of just corner adjacent to this little area by the kitchen. And normally you have one switch turns on one light, or you may have two switches, one at the end of a hall, one at the other end of the hall. So it's a three-way switch. Switch, light. So it's a three-way switch. So you have to buy special three-way switches to wire them properly. I have a light with 3 switches attached, so it's actually a 4-way switch. And I always knew it was going to be a pain in the ass, so I kept putting it off. And the other day we went to leave the house, and I flicked the switch to turn the light either on or off, one of the two. And on the other end of this little seating area where this light is, this central light, all I heard inside the little switch box across from me was like arcing sparks, and I thankfully I didn't see a light and I didn't get smoke or the thing didn't burn on the outside. It scared the shit because we were going to leave the house.
Yeah.
And I was like, we can't leave the house like this.
Yeah.
I'm scared that the house is going to burn. So I didn't have plans. I had plans to do some more stuff in the bathroom, but I had to go out and buy like 8 switches. 3 switches for the 4-way switch, and they're all attached to different switches for 3-way switches, which turn on other lights in the house. So I had to buy like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 3-way switches, 1 4-way switch, 2 more 3-way switches for that. And I'm buying plates and wiring, and I'm running up and down the basement, turning the breaker on and off while I'm running out of the house. And then, of course, dummy me, one of them, they were all white. And somehow dummy me buys one in almond. Sandalwood or whatever you call it.
Sandalwood.
Yeah, it's a light almond, it says on the box. But I go to put it in, and I realize it's right next to the other switch. And I'm like, this damn thing's the wrong color. Package it back up, get back in the car, drive all the way back, go get it or whatever. But the good part of it is the house didn't burn.
That's positive. That's a start there.
That's a positive.
Yep.
And now we got all these nice sort of decorative flat switches in the house. They look a little bit nicer than the old schooly ones that Anna got it done.
I didn't realize that the old schooly ones were really so old schooly.
I shouldn't say.
I mean, I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, granted, I'm a little bit behind the times, and like I found out apparently, like everyone always gives me shit because I still have an AOL address. It's like me and Nick DeGilio are like the only ones that have an AOL address. Okay, but then like I started up a Gmail account as well some years ago, and so I have both. I have two accounts. The Gmail's hooked up to the AOL because I have so much hooked up to the AOL that I haven't switched everything over to the Gmail.
Wait. So you have the Gmail forwarding all your mail to the AOL?
Yeah, and for those, because it's a little more professional,
sure.
And so I use that. I've been trying to transition it to that one, but I got so many people still emailing me at the old one that I know it's going to be. I mean, it took me practically a year to get FedEx and UPS to deliver to the right goddamn address, let alone, getting 800 people that contact me every day knowing to send to the right address. So it's a little bit of laziness on my part, but like I saw someone make a joke the other day about, someone's lawyers, we'll just say, using a Gmail account. I'm like, I didn't know Gmail was out of, like, is that a thing now? Or is it just because they're lawyers and they shouldn't be using a Gmail account because there's more shit going through the emails or something? I don't know.
Gmail is extremely common. Like
that's what I thought. Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, why is that a joke? I don't like do I need a .gov email address or something? Like, what do an edu account? Like, what the hell do I need to appease the people out there?
Were they expecting your lawyer to have like a at?
It's not my lawyer. I just want to
right. Whoever this person was,
Yeah.
were they expecting them to have like a whatever, Bob Smith at lawversuslaw.org or something, like had their own special?
Maybe. I mean, granted, these lawyers involved, and I think I know you think I think you know who I'm talking about. Are they're they're not exactly top flight lawyers.
Jolly Fats Weehawken.
They're very jolly Fats Weehawken for someone who may have kept documents somewhere. And so the fact that one of them had a Gmail account, people were making fun of him. Like, I didn't know. I get maybe because of the sensitive nature of court filings, but I've done many things with Gmail.
It just clicked. Now I really know who you're talking about, and if that's the case, that's probably the joke. Is that person is dealing with someone who can't afford to have their own full-blown website with their full-blown website email address. They're dealing with someone of such a small stature that they have to use Gmail instead for someone maybe that important.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right? That's you're talking. I
guess that's what it is. But it's just like, I'm tired of not being hip. I guess and it's just I don't care. I mean, I put that shit to bed. High school.
I was just gonna say, when were we ever hip?
Right, but even the implication that you're not with the times, I don't give a shit. Okay, I don't give a shit. I was 60 years old when I was 14. I don't care.
Well, it wasn't that bad, but
well, I don't even take that as an insult.
No, sure, you're right. I shouldn't say bad.
Right.
You're right.
I'm
getting close to 60 as it is. So I don't need to wait.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're a lot closer to 60 than we are 16.
Ain't that the truth?
At this point, but
my knees will tell me that every day.
I don't have that yet. I don't have knee problems.
It's getting there.
So, let's not jinx.
Yeah, cross your fingers.
Yeah, positive.
That's
what the show's all about.
That's right. Like you said, pop culture and positivity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the only exciting thing, is that my house might almost burn down.
Yeah, considering, I mean, I have my own projects here that I'm working on too, with the basement and the garage and whatnot. And the garage is, I've reached the garage stage where I can now focus on all of the Christmas decorations that have been left behind in the house. Two people's worth of Christmas decorations plus my own from the old house. So we got 3 piles. It takes up an entire wall in the garage of Christmas decorations.
Well, that's the thing, is when you say Christmas decorations, you can just say Christmas decorations, right? Mm-hmm. People probably imagine. I know I normally imagine.
Yeah.
2, 3 Rubbermaid things full of lights and garland and what have you. Your tertiary stuff, right? But maybe a tree box, to dismantle your tree, put it away.
Yeah.
3, 4.
Yeah.
You come from a household.
Yeah.
Really enjoys Christmas decorations.
We really enjoy Christmas.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
So it's not like 3 or 4 per person.
Right.
It's 10, 12, 14 per person, plus you have two people who have who have left you some stuff, and they obviously were probably fairly similar in their so it's like 20, 25 boxes, right? Am I close?
It's boxes plus bags bags, more bags, and all kinds of stuff all over the place. And it's not even like we have like some Griswold, award-winning house that we don't. It's not that kind of overboard. It's just literally we've been left behind all the stuff, and I have to go through what works, what doesn't work. Just feel through, because there was stuff in the basement. So stuff in the basement is now with the Christmas stuff in the garage. So it's all together. So the garage is coming along. The garage is not looking too bad at this point. Once I get the Christmas stuff done, then I can start moving stuff from the basement back into the garage and making that a little bit nicer, and then the basement as a whole, ceiling tiles and lights and fixtures and stuff, and so. But
Yeah, that's serious business.
it is.
We're,
It is.
we're still debating on where we're going to put the tree upstairs this year. I may back here somewhere. We have a little tiny older tree. We used it in transition from the one that was really old and really not working. We're missing branches to a newer one we bought. So we have an old, like, thin, smaller one.
Okay.
And I was like, maybe I'll bring it downstairs and put all my goofy ornaments on it.
Yeah.
And so you may make a little cameo here for a couple of weeks here in the background somewhere.
Yeah. The thing that's also great about going through the stuff in the basement is that you find all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
This is the level of and this is just this is really just a tease.
AT-AT driver. Then you got your snow trooper. No, that's not a trooper. A snow rebel fighter.
Right, snow rebel fighter.
Yeah.
Because we got my nephew, Jack, is over here and he's huge into Star Wars, and I whipped out the I have the Darth Vader carrying case.
Sergio asked me if I had that, and I told him I had the Chewbacca bandolier where you could put the little figures in the bandolier and carry them with you. I said, no, I never got the Darth Vader head. Please tell me you have it right there.
You want me to go get it?
No, you don't have to go get it. I thought you had it with you. Yeah, no. You have the carrying case.
Yes.
I love that thing. That you should put that up on your wall.
I should. I mean, it's in good condition. It still snaps. It's
great.
Got the but I had figures lying around and whatnot for him to play with. But then we went into the Vader case, and there was more in there that I could even imagine. There was I'm like, yeah, this is nice.
That's great.
And I got more. There's more in a toy. One of the toy boxes downstairs. There's more Star Wars figures, I believe, in there. So I gotta, once I dig through there, because I'm gonna try to make that one room. We call it Jack's playroom right now, but I want to transform it into some kind of like a game room.
That's awesome.
At some point, so that's part of the plan as well. But yeah, no, Jack is completely obsessed with the Star Wars guys, and he's making wars, and they're fighting each other, and they're crashing, and they're hitting the floor and stuff.
Were you gonna grab a third one? You look like you were gonna grab a third one. Is there a third one there?
No, not handy. No, not of the figures. Anyway, I should have brought it in here. Next time I will, because they're going to be permanently in the living room for the foreseeable future, because they're just on a coffee table right now. It's Jack's coffee table of toys.
And no joke, even loose like that, if Adam should still be watching, Adam can probably help me price this stuff out a little bit better, because we go to cons together and stuff.
Yeah.
Even loose, if you can find the exact weapon that goes with that exact figure, not on a card, not nothing, and in pretty good condition, like not, bite marks or, paint being literally scratched off.
Yeah.
A loose figure like that will go for $15 or $20 a pop.
Oh. Yeah.
Not that you can't let them play with them.
Right.
Toys should be played with, but if you were choosing to maybe grab one or two of the ones you really, really like, grab them, grab the weapons, or if they have a little cloak or something that went with them, grab just those couple out and put them to the side just to have for yourself, and then, let them, whatever, light the other ones on fire. But, but you keep the couple that you might want to keep.
There's a couple I'm going to put aside that they're very sensitive. I just don't want him playing with too forcefully. He hasn't been too bad. He hasn't broken anything yet. But I got all the spaceships are in there. The Darth Vader thing is in there. He's got all the Back to the Future stuff. So, I'm loaded. We're loaded with stuff right now. And board games are out there as well.
Did you ever get the Playmobil time machine?
Which one?
The Playmobil?
I know, but I actually got Jack for his birthday this year. I got him a Playmobil Back to the Future 2 set that is the town square with the pond and the hoverboard, characters and whatnot. So he got that, and he plays that at his house. He really loved that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
They have a Playmobil time machine with Doc and Marty.
Yeah.
Playmobil's gone crazy. They realize that collectors are buying stuff. Yeah. They made an A-Team set. Playmobil.
Nice.
Of all the things to make, they made an A-Team set. They have a Ghostbusters set. Playmobil. And then they did a special edition, I think it's Playmobil, special edition 4-pack of Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
And it's only the figures, so no vehicles or anything, and they come in a little box, and it's He-Man, I think it's He-Man, Sorceress, Skeletor, and Evil-Lyn or something. And it was just a little 4 of, or Beast-Man or something. There's just the 4 of them in a little package. I always am tempted to scoop it up just to have, because it's stupid, but I want it.
Right.
But yeah. So, so here's what we do, for those of you who don't know. We like to talk about things that make us happy. Talk about things that make us laugh, bring us enjoyment. And we do that because we've been living for, 26 months in a nightmare hellscape.
Yeah.
And we got to stay positive, otherwise we're going to go crazy. So, what we like to do is talk about 3 things that we are currently enjoying, and then 1 thing that we're looking forward to enjoying. Hopefully, it's worth the wait when it happens. That's our hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
But first, if you're listening to us, it'd be great if you liked, subscribed, hit the little notification, the little bell. It sends you a little message on your phone, let you know we're going to go live or I post a video. If you're listening to this on audio, which you can find on iTunes, if you haven't found that yet, you can, I think it's called like. Again, I have to verify this. It's not subscribe anymore. But anyway, you can go there, leave a comment, leave a like, and then it'll ping you on your phone too when it drops into your podcast app, and you can listen to us on the go. And always be sure to listen to Erik, the other Erik Childress's 2 podcasts, Movie Madness podcast and The Friendship Dilemma. You can find those also on iTunes and stuff. So
Yes.
So yeah. So like I always like to say, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I will go first.
All right.
I don't know if this will be one of your 3, and I hope that you're. I think you were, at one point you were more caught up on this than I was. But I think that now that it's over, I think most of us should be caught up with it. I know you and Mrs. Fun were watching this. But I think it's worth celebrating that I haven't had a chance to do. I mean, except a couple tweets online. Celebrate the glory that was Better Call Saul.
We are not caught up.
You are not caught up. Okay.
We are not caught up. Basically the last season, because we only have Hulu.
Okay.
So we won't get that season, I think, for a couple more weeks now, right?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was duped or something. I mean, I could go into a whole section of this that would end up on Pissed.
Right. Pissed on Patreon.
Right. But I won't go into. But it was like I thought, because I was. Season 5 happened when I was right in the middle of the move, or at least I had a whole bunch of it saved on DVR, and I didn't have time to watch it at the time, so I lost that entire season, and I had to wait until it showed up on Netflix. Originally, season 5.
Maybe it's Netflix. Maybe it's Netflix.
All the Better Call Sauls were end up on Netflix. So I had to go right before this season, the final season started. I caught up on all of season 5, which was as amazing as everyone said it was. And then I thought, because I think it overlapped a little bit, so I was a couple episodes behind on the new season. I thought, and I swore I read this somewhere, that it was going to be broadcast, and then it was going to be available on Hulu. I had heard that too. Okay. Like the new episodes would be available on Hulu, which I have, and found out that was not true. Not true at all. They were available on AMC Plus. Okay, which you have to subscribe to or get the free trial, like some of us used for a little while. Anyway, caught up with the free trial, and then I got not distracted, but life and work interceded, and I got behind a little bit on the new season. And AMC Plus, I went to go catch up on the the mid-season finale. There was a mid-season finale that happened that I somehow managed to avoid all spoilers for whatsoever, even though there was a thing that happens or supposedly happened in them. It was just a big mid-season finale.
Sure.
Okay, and I managed to avoid any talk about it. So I went to finally go watch it like the day before it came back again in July. And AMC Plus just scrubbed all of the first 6 episodes from their own site. They weren't available. Weren't available.
What?
Weren't available.
So
their signature show.
So they had been available on AMC Plus.
Yes, because I caught up on like the first 4 episodes, something like that. Yeah.
So it wasn't like a timed exclusive only on cable or FXX or whatever.
Right.
And then, 4 months later, you could get them on AMC
it was like
Plus.
The mid-season thing happened in like end of May, something like that, maybe something like that. And then it was coming back in July. It was kind of like a Stranger Things thing. And then it came back in July. I think I got the timeline right. And I had them DVR'd, but my DVR erased those last couple episodes leading up to the mid-season premiere.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go back on AMC Plus to watch them. Gone. Not even available. I never set up a subscription and canceled it as quickly as I did with that. The dumbest thing I could. Their flagship show. I don't think anyone gives a shit about The Walking Dead anymore.
Right.
Their flagship show that everyone was talking about at the moment. Just no, we're not going to have it available for you. Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Well,
it's a little bit off topic, but Disney Plus. I was reading an article. Disney Plus pulled Avatar off.
Oh, the actual movie?
Yeah, they stopped. They pulled it off the Fox portion of Disney Plus.
Really?
We'll get why. They're bringing it back out in theaters.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So they scrubbed it off of Disney Plus. Even though you pay for it, you can't watch it.
Oh.
It's not there anymore.
That's why the streaming wars are now coming to home for everyone, because again, on Movie Madness, you and I have talked about this. I mean, we talked about this, Sergio, all the time. We've been doing it for years. Physical media. If you want something forever in your collection, you have to get it. You can't count on streaming. You can't count on, all the crap that's going on HBO Max.
Oh yeah,
we're pissed. That's a whole season of pissed. What's going on HBO Max right now? But even something like that. Now, I understand. Like at least that I kind of understand. Put it out in theaters, take it off for a little while, and one movie out of countless things, and it'll be back. Right?
Or you have a rights issue, while we had a contract, Marvel can't show the Hulk movies because they're Paramount or something. So
I'm not going to get too worked up about
that,
especially since it's James Cameron's worst film. Yeah, I said it. But so the Better Call Saul thing was ridiculous, and I'm just saying that like many people are understanding what they need to do. There are ways to find things.
For those who don't know, Adam just asked what's going on with HBO Max. Adam, just so you're, it's a little bit off topic, but here's the gist of it is HBO Max had, whatever, I'm making up a number, but 1,000 streaming options, right? All the DC stuff, all the HBO stuff, all the, you name it, HBO has it on there, especially their own original shows that you can't even watch other places, right? So they have all this stuff. Cartoon Network stuff, Adult Swim stuff, all kinds of stuff,
South
right?
Park,
even Paramount stuff, because Paramount was part of HBO, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And all of a sudden, what was it, about 5 days ago, because they're merging, they used to be owned by AT&T, but they were now bought by Discovery. Discovery, believe it or not, is bigger than HBO somehow.
Yeah.
Discovery has their own streaming service, Discovery Plus. As part of, quote-unquote, the merger of their streaming services, HBO cut, I want to say it's around like 30%, 30 to 35% of all the stuff they had offered for stream. And it's a lot of, it may not be the biggest things in the world, but it's a lot of stuff. And they canceled a bunch of stuff. Notoriously the Batgirl movie and a bunch of other HBO originals they had planned that they said they had spent money on. They canceled them. There's a Bruce Timm Batman. They get Bruce Timm to come back to do a new Batman cartoon. They just said the other day they're canceling that. That's not coming out. So they're just cutting off their nose to spite their face, and it's massive. And so, in a similar move, somehow AMC, Better Call Saul is enormous. Why would you not have it available? Especially since I can't watch it on Hulu or Netflix or wherever it was where we watched it. I don't have cable.
Right.
So if that's the case, I expect it to show up on the streaming service. So to have it, and then not only is it crazy, is it crazy, Adam? It's actually financially stupid because someone estimated that they did this because supposedly it would save them somewhere in the round $3 billion. The reason is they wouldn't have to pay the people. Well, your show is streaming, Mr. Producer, Mr. Actor, Mr. Voice Actor, Mr. Animator, Mrs. I shouldn't say Mr. Everybody.
Right.
They don't have to pay them if it's not there, right? So it was supposed to possibly save them around $3 billion. Well, it turns out the HBO stock has tanked $6 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So they've actually lost twice as much in like 5 days that they were supposed to save over the entire year.
And that's just the present. That's just the present. Because again, this is, it sounds like we're actually doing the first episode.
Yeah, pissed. Yeah.
But because last year at Warner Brothers, the crazy thing is that they did that whole big thing, pandemic, people not going to theaters just kind of scattered open, and put all their stuff on HBO Max day and date. They're still really releasing them in theaters, but they're going to be available on HBO Max. And consumers were happy because how cool is that? We get this on HBO Max the day and date. Dune is going to be on HBO Max day and date, all that kind of stuff. But what did that do? It pissed off the talent. And you didn't hear, you probably haven't heard most of the stories about what they had to do to appease some of that talent and pay them under the table.
Nolan sued him, didn't he, or threatened to sue him?
Well, Nolan took his shit and went home.
Yeah.
Nolan left Warner Brothers. He'd done other stuff, not with Warner Brothers, but that was pretty much his
place.
But he took Oppenheimer and moved it to Universal. They're like, "Yeah, sure, come on over here." That's fine. But they pissed off the talent. They pissed off that. They pissed off Denis Villeneuve, who did Dune. They basically appeased him by oh, okay, Dune didn't make a whole lot of money, but here we do your Dune too. So they're letting them do that. But like the Wonder Woman 1984, and because they didn't tell the talent 15 minutes before the shit went live, they nobody knew. So Denzel Washington, there was a whole thing. He had a movie coming out. He got some paid money on the table. Godot and Patty Jenkins.
They notoriously sued.
Yeah, they went down. If you extrapolate what happened between Disney and Scarlett Johansson last year with the Black Widow thing, now extrapolate that. Now put on top of that as whipped cream, cherry, and nuts, all the Nolans of the world who are now looking at what happened with Batgirl and going, well, what the hell would I want to take my movie to Warner Brothers now if this is a legitimate possibility? Just today, they just delayed again Shazam and Aquaman.
Yes, yeah, to December 2023.
Yes, Aquaman just went from March of 2023 to December 23. They moved. Now the Shazam thing.
It's because of Flash. It's because of Ezra Miller.
It's not just that's part of it. But Shazam was going to open the same day as Avatar. Not a great move. Shazam was still going to make money, and the Christmas money, it's flowing. It's there for everybody. Shazam was going to make some money, but now they've moved it out of that and they've moved Aquaman. Now they don't have. They got they just put. There was a House Party remake that was going to be on HBO Max in July. I didn't even It was on the schedule, and then no one we're like, where did it go? And it just never showed up. They didn't tell anyone. It just never showed up. Now that they're gonna release that in the theaters in December, it was just supposed to be an HBO Max. They're releasing that in there, but the Batgirl thing just Yeah,
There's more. There's got to. We'll never know the truth of that. They locked. Well, in a similar, they locked. Turns out they locked the 2 directors of Batgirl out. You know, you can go to, like, I guess, I don't know. I don't direct movies, but they could access their movie repeatedly as they edited it, and they would go into whatever the Warner Brothers servers and, like, edit it or do their dailies or whatever. They just mysteriously got locked out.
They're locked out,
and then we're told, that, by the way, well, they probably did that so they couldn't, scoop the video off and use it.
There are apparently secret screenings of Batgirl happening on the Warner Brothers lot, like, as we speak.
Of course, because people want to see it, whatever. And you get to see Michael Keaton, which now you're not going to see him in anything because they're editing him out of Aquaman.
We talked about Michael Keaton as one of our things in here. So anyway, Better Call Saul.
But yeah, this all goes back to the fact that why, of a show that notoriously is highly regarded, one of the best written shows, along with Breaking Bad, obviously. Mm-hmm. You have this cult, bad word, but people love it. It's such a good show, and the simple fact that you're, like, waiting to watch it, and then they make it harder for you to see it.
Yeah.
How did you end up getting to see it?
There are ways.
Like
I said, the streaming wars are just beginning, my friend.
Yes.
The streaming wars are just beginning.
Yeah.
But there are ways, like The Mandalorian. And so I got to see it. And so anyway, seen the entire series and now the final season. I will not go into anything, but it's such a remarkable achievement. You think of the history of television, movies, the whole idea of a prequel in and of itself. There are very few that can pull that off. I mean, Frasier managed to do it with Cheers and do it very successfully.
But that wasn't a prequel. That was just a spin-off.
It was a spin-off.
Yeah.
Right. I should slash spin-off. Okay.
There's only a couple. Jeffersons was fairly popular.
Yes.
What was it? Maude? Wasn't Maude? I'm
yeah.
really dating myself. Maude was a spin-off, I think.
I think you could probably put A Different World on that. After
Yeah. You're right. That was very popular.
In that.
What was the Mary Tyler Moore? What's her name? Left and went and made her own show.
Valerie Harper.
Yeah. Her character, right? Didn't she leave and get her own show?
There was some. Well, Lou Grant had.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not unheard of, but it is.
But since then, when you think about it, what Mork and Mindy, again, old. You're talking the 80s.
Right.
When was the last big spin-off other than Frasier?
I mean, big.
Big.
Just because it lasts a couple seasons, like a Fear the Walking Dead kind of thing. That's
Joey lasted for a season and a half or something. Oh, I get. Look, yeah. So there's spin-offs, but they have to survive. Right. And this show not only survives, Better Call Saul is great.
Better Call Saul, to do something like Breaking Bad, considered like one of the pinnacles of modern day television. Okay. And the fact that now Better Call Saul, and the way that it ultimately played out, that you have even the biggest fans of Breaking Bad going, this might be better.
Wow. And
like Breaking and they're similar, but they're also two different, very, very different beasts.
Very.
And Breaking Bad was, a show that, like, the tension level, was just astronomical, like, week to week. And, how he was going to get away with this. You're not watching great people. There was more heart in Better Call Saul. He was a more likable person in many over the years, even though he did do some despicable things, but you kind of felt for the guy, that the guy was, he always wanted to live up to the status of his brother when Michael McKean was on the show and all that, and wanted to be a lawyer. He started out as a con man and wanted to aspire to this, but people just wouldn't let him do it. They would never let him live up to his potential. So he just fell back on what worked for him, which was pulling cons and being a lawyer. And the way that the tension level in the final season, through the roof in some respects. the way that the show and like I mean there are very few television shows that have a visual stimuli the way Vince Gilligan and his crew have crafted both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. There are shots in the final episode of Better Call Saul that I'll never forget.
Wow.
Like wow, that is just a magnificently crafted shot. And like again, people just you can tell your story without having to craft something within the frame. Sometimes the words and the actors can be enough to get through a situation and a plotting and all that kind of stuff, and the direction is obviously very important. But when you add that visual texture to it, and the visual is telling as much of a story as the words and whatnot, this is something I argue with some people about. They're just like, well, the visual language is the most important thing. Yeah, that's great. It's not the only thing, and it goes both ways. But when
and that's the beauty of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, prior to quote talkies, right? I mean, all you had was visual storytelling. Right. You didn't even have you had the cards with the words on them and stuff, but it was all visual. You had to tell it with your body, Buster Keaton and all that stuff. But like the beauty now is you have the true storytelling. You actually have full conversations, not a card. You have that's why I always say about comic books. It's not just the art. It's not just the writing. It's the layout of the squares. How you move from page to page when you turn a page. That's the beauty of this. Again, a really well done TV show or a movie. And even TV shows are different than movies. Short form storytelling to multi episode storytelling or even multi-season storytelling. Completely different.
Yeah.
Beast. You say visual. The first thing I think of when I think of Better Call Saul is, at least so far on my side, is the black and white
of the
future,
modern,
the Cinnabon story. Cinnabon. I call it. Like oh, that's the Cinnabon stuff. Yeah, like because it's so if you've seen Breaking Bad, you know that the gray stuff, the black and white stuff, takes place after that. Yeah. So they want to break it so hard that you don't accidentally mix the two up, and I think that's brilliant. Because once it goes black and white, and all of a sudden you're sitting in a mall, and he's got his Cinnabon shirt on, you're like, that's right, future. This is whatever, 5 years later, 6 years later.
Which is an old trick, right?
Sure, but it's so abrupt.
Yeah.
It again, name another show in the last 9 years that has had that hard of a break to easily explain something to the viewer. Because if you've never seen Breaking Bad, you don't get, when they first start showing you the Cinnabon stuff, it seems so weird and out of place.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily, if you've never seen Breaking Bad. So it's great that it's such a cut. You go, wow, what is this? Why is it different? It may, eventually you learn why.
Right.
But it's again, it's like you said, visual, and then once he talks in it, you're getting that bit of story.
And it's fun. It's just like you took this minor character out of Breaking Bad and you crafted a 6-season show around him. You gave him a complete life. You created these really fantastic characters. You had Mike Ehrmantraut in there, and what was so many things that they do in the final season. They begin to mix the world of Breaking Bad into it, and which again enlightens not just Better Call Saul, but also stuff that goes on in Breaking Bad. It gives you further context to things that happen in there that are so great. The final episode is just a little marvel of the 1 hour plus format, and again the visual stuff. And again, I wish I could talk about it more at length with you right now.
Sorry.
It's just there are just things about the final episode where you're just kind of like, oh, and then like, oh, it's that kind of final hour, and yeah, it's just so damn good, and it ends the way it ends right. They get it right the way it's supposed to end.
So that's twice now, because they got it right in Breaking Bad, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
the ending of Breaking Bad was right. As far as, again,
there are moral arguments about the fact that he he kind of gets away with, I mean, like the family's taken care of and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Maybe my moral compass is low or something. I don't know, but
Well, you're
like,
not. Well, I don't think any, especially towards those last 2 seasons of Breaking
yeah,
Bad,
yeah,
when even Saul is talking to him, like, you're not a nice dude. Like,
right,
you don't really you kind of cheer him on,
yeah,
through the first 3 seasons or so till he starts getting freaky. But that I am the one who knocks. Boom.
yeah,
It's that changes everything.
yeah,
When he has that conversation with her in the bedroom, after that he becomes just an asshole.
yeah,
I mean, yes, he does some cool thing, like, hey, there's these drug people who are hurting other people. Yeah, okay, it's Punisher level stuff, whatever. Get your
yeah,
revenge, but he's not a nice guy.
no,
So it ends kind of the way it should.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe he got his way, but it's not a
yeah,
great ending for him. In
no,
general, it's not.
no,
Yeah,
yeah, and again, again, and that was such a triumph for Cranston, obviously. Um,
but
uh,
Saul came out of nowhere. Because Better Call, when I started watching Breaking Bad was
yeah,
as Saul had come out. The
yeah,
finale of Breaking Bad
okay,
had come and
yeah, you're
gone.
late comer to Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it, and then
Yeah,
we started watching Better Call Saul. So at the same time, then we started ripping through Breaking Bad, so I could kind of catch up. And as that happens, what is it? Season 2, he makes like 1 or 2 appearances. So like he's
right,
been Saul
yeah,
for 12 years now at this point, like or
yeah,
4 or 5. Then they took a year and a half off, and
11
then
seasons,
Saul is 6 years.
yeah,
He's been doing this a long time. His character became a standout. He could have just been a throwaway 1-season idiot lawyer,
right,
but he ended up really endearing himself. Like, people, even though he's sleazy,
yeah,
even at the end when he's like, you kind of root for him to kind of maybe get away.
yeah. And Odenkirk is a local guy, where he grew up, and so it's just, I mean, he's been great for so many years, and to see him, sign off with this character, and I mean, guy had a heart attack on set, a year and a half ago, and everyone's just like, oh, the outpouring of support for Odenkirk in that moment is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on Twitter. There's not a lot of beautiful things on Twitter, but that was
Very
up
few.
there. The outpouring of support just for him, not like, oh shit, we're not gonna finish Saul because he's gonna die. It was just like everyone loves the guy. Everyone thinks he's the nicest guy, and the cast that they surrounded him with. Banks was always great on Bad and Saul. Rhea Seehorn has just gotten better with every season, and I mean, if she doesn't win the Emmy for this season, I mean, I think they're going to win all the Emmys for this season. Frankly,
Probably.
it's just going to be the way to honor the show, and it's deservedly so. Because honestly, it's one of the best shows that has ever been on television. Period. And Breaking Bad was already one of those too. So
The fact that he's had basically 2 in a row. Like, I'd almost be scared if I was him to be like, maybe we should do a third something or another. Like, you're batting 1,000. Get the hell out. Take a break because you don't want to screw this up.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any more Breaking Bad universe stuff for him. But
he's already mentioned that he may want to do a different spinoff.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Along with other stuff. I mean, he wants to do other things, but he mentioned something like, maybe I have an idea for another kind of blah, blah, blah.
Well, hey, it's worked out good so far. And I mean, again, 12 TV seasons is not easy to do for anyone.
I don't not a stinker in the bunch, as far as I know.
No.
Of the seasons. Maybe one episode someone didn't like, but like as a season.
No.
Hey, him and Seahorn, did I say that right?
Rhea Seehorn, yeah.
Yeah. Are so good together too. She's so good. I didn't know her from anything either.
Me neither. No.
But she's great in that show.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, it's going to go down, and I don't know how many people. I mean, people have always liked the Saul Kim relationship in the show, but I think it needs to be looked at. People think about the cons, they think about the lawyer stuff, they think about the crime stuff. It really needs to go down as like one of the great love stories.
Oh, okay.
In many respects. And again, without telling you how things play out in the final season, I think it only adds to that That's something that it needs to be remembered as.
The only thing that's been ruined for me, thankfully, I know absolutely nothing about, and I'm not even going to say specifically what it is, but like, I don't know, and we don't know anything, Ms. Funner, at all about season 6. But a black and white image of someone popped up on something, and I immediately pushed it off the screen, but I saw
a guest star.
No.
Or no. Okay.
No. I mean, everybody knows Breaking Bad characters are showing up at some point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody kind of knows that. But it was a female is all I'll say.
Oh.
Yeah. Black and white.
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming it's in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, something having to do with that got ruined. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah,
and so, I hurried up and got it off the screen. So
that's fair. Well, that's very unfortunate because that was a moment where I even went, oh.
Yeah.
Like, I had one of those moments when that happened. And the last thing I'll say, just because we can tie this into Pissed as well, is that, and I don't even know how I got it, but I get like emails from like the Hollywood Reporter when they have like news stories and whatnot. That's usually how I find out about anything really. I mean, they're very good at the emails, okay? But they love to tie in their articles to the end of episodes. And so it's like an episode will end. Maybe you've watched it, maybe you haven't. But I get an email that says, Vince Gilligan's going to talk about that shocking twist ending. I'm like, well, now I know there's something happens on the episode that I'm behind on, that I didn't get to watch right now. They do it every time. Every time. I get an email at like 9:05. You know?
Especially if you get the notification, it'll have the info in the notification. You're like,
it's always, and it's doubly bad when they go, we interviewed this particular actor about what happened. I'm like, oh, God damn it. You know, this is probably the last interview that person is doing about this show. You know? So, yeah, that's as close as I've had anything getting spoiled for me. Except for someone spoiled something.
Yeah.
Like, and I had to unfollow that person on Twitter.
You just straight up unfollowed?
Straight up unfollowed. Straight up, or muted.
Nice.
I think I'm muted. I'm just
Sure.
like, because that person had actually ruined another TV show that I had actually seen.
Oh.
But they did it right after it aired. I'm just like, well, that's not cool. That's not cool. And, I didn't shame the person or anything, but I'm just like, okay. And then they did it to me right after one particular thing happened. I'm just like, that's it.
That's it.
I ain't got time for this shit.
As Homestar Runner says, belated.
Yes. So when you get a chance to see Better Call Saul, just lap it up.
Yeah.
That final season, because it is such a great watch. If the guest star that does show up, that has nothing to do with anything previous, is just a lovely little.
That's now been spoiled. I didn't know that there was a cameo.
Well,
okay.
It's not a It's not a cameo. It's a role.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
It's not a cameo of a previous character.
No, I know.
It's a new character with just
multi-episode.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes. Yes.
So they just add a new character. That's different.
Yeah.
Okay. That's different.
Right.
All right.
So.
Yeah, we're gonna be on there with you. We're anxiously awaiting.
Oh, it's so good.
So, yeah, if you haven't seen Better Call Saul, I don't know how it's been off your radar, but you should definitely watch it. And if you like that at all and you haven't watched Breaking Bad, jump on that too, because all of it's good. Like I said, not a stinker in the bunch. I don't really
watch it in that order too. Watch Breaking Bad first, then watch Better Call Saul.
Much like Star Wars, you watch 4, 5, and 6, then you watch 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was considering getting someone to watch. And I was like, well, maybe I'll start with Better Call Saul and let them just do it in order. But I'm like, no, because the Better Call Saul then works better as when you know where it's headed.
And then El Camino. You got El Camino too.
El Camino is very good too.
Yeah, we liked that. We liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
Another good ending.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Another fantastic ending, especially for that character. That character out of all of them, and now that we've seen Saul, again, I don't know what this season's going to be. Pinkman's character, I I think I was telling Sergio on here when I was talking about Breaking Bad that he hasn't really been in anything else. And for me, I don't get it because I think he was absolutely fantastic.
He's on Westworld now.
But I mean, like, oh, is it the new season 3? He wasn't in 2.
3 and no, and on 2 and 3 and 4.
We stopped in the middle of 2.
Oh wow!
I heard 3's better, so we may go back to that now too. But I think that character specifically, the character, him doing it, only got better as it went, and El Camino, I think, solidified that. And then the send off they give him in the way that they do, is I loved it. I thought he was fantastic in that character. I don't know. Right. Hopefully he does something just as good. I don't. Hopefully
he's been doing some movies. I mean, I like indie movies and things like that. He shows up now and again, but no, he's very well. He'll be fine.
Yeah, Pinkman's great.
He'll be fine. Yeah.
So mine isn't. My number one's not as dramatic, but it is fun.
Okay.
And so like I said, I've been trying to now stream stuff the day it comes out. If I'm not going to stream something old, I'm gonna grab onto it the day it comes out just to do it, see if I can get it working and the whole deal. And a game came out on Game Pass. So before I get into that, I'll explain. The Batman video games, there was a trilogy of them that was made by Rocksteady Games.
Yeah.
Called Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham Knight was the last one. Arkham City was the second one. They're all fantastic. And they have a very specific fighting style that was different than other games that had at the time. It's now been copied a little bit by other games. The bigger ones was the 2 Lord of the Rings games, Mordor and another one. And it's very fluid and fast. It pops little prompts up as people are going to attack you so you can counter. Very fluid. Again, it's hard to explain with words, but imagine it almost feels choreographed. It feels without a whole lot of fighting game style combo, like Mortal Kombat, left, right, half circle, Street Fighter stuff.
Yeah.
Only a few buttons and some movement and tactically thinking, okay, if I get in this corner and use this parry and break and I can do this and that. Very few buttons. You feel like a badass. It looks like you're John Wick. As it's, the best martial arts movies, the fast ones, the ones where you actually see the fighting. I've complained about that in the past. You want to see the fighting, like a Jackie Chan movie or a Jet Li movie. You want to see the hands moving. You want to see the movement and the placement. And that's what those Arkham games did. Mordor did it. For another Warner Brothers game. Sort of copied it, felt similar, and that had more swords and weapons and stabbing and chopping of heads and things, for that universe. But not another game's really done it. Another game came out recently called Sifu, which they call like a roguelite. So as you enter into these areas, you do runs. And so you start from the very beginning and you try to make it as far as you can in one go. And, you work your way through the warehouse, through the kitchen, through the this, through the that, and then there may be boss fights. But as you go, it gets harder and harder and more complex. And as you do, you gain the ability to, it's more like a action RPG, role-playing game. So you sort of slot powers in. You can do your basic combo punches, ABC, like Streets of Rage, X, 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 X heavy, Y, X low hit, so X, Y, X, and you can take a guy down. Well, then they start putting guys with shields in your way. Okay, now you got to hold the heavy button to break the shield to get them to knock out of their stance. Then you can drop a couple combos, XXX, XYX, to then hurt them. Well, then there might be guys that dodge. Then there might be guys that jump. There might be guys that have throwing weapons. It gets progressively harder, but as you do, it gives you the tools on your runs to do that. If they have a bat, you have the ability to, roll out of the way or evade. Well, you don't have that initially. You sort of earn it as you play. lot of John Woo environmental stuff, which has become all the rage, obviously, since Jackie Chan and John Woo movies. But, like, you know, if you're next to a wall and a mirror, you may get a combo in by the mirror, and then a final elbow smashes their head into the mirror, and then this and that. You wouldn't get that visual if you're not standing by a mirror. Or if you're by a pipe, you might break the pipe off the wall and hit them with the pipe. Or sinks are pretty popular in a lot of movies, even Mission Impossible, you know. Take the guy's head and smash it through the sink. But if there's no sink around, you're never going to see that animation.
Right.
So Sifu is like that. And it has its own little weird hooks and things. I haven't played it, but it leads to this newer game made by one guy. And I'm going to say his name. It's Jacob Zwinel. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Dzwinel. It was on Steam, meaning PC gaming, for a while. It's been in early access, I believe. But it came out for Game Pass yesterday. And I've been looking forward to it because I haven't played Sifu. This isn't as graphically intensive. But you know, Zaxxon, the kind of 3/4 view of the plane. This is sort of that view. Top-down overhead, 3/4 view. And it doesn't take itself very seriously. You could dress your guy up in all kinds of stuff you find. So if you find a, you know, knight armor, you can put a knight helmet on, or you can put a crazy jacket on, or clown gloves, you know, just to be silly. But the gist of it is you the game starts out in a police station, and they're like, what do you know? You know, this and that kind of time thing.
Mm-hmm.
How did this all start? And it takes you back to you being delivered a package. You open it up, and it's a drone that talks to you. It basically wakes you up and said, come on, you need to go. You need to start kicking some ass. This city's out of control. And it's, as you leave, you start with very basic fighting moves. And as you continue to go, your upgrade points they're numerical, but you have to knock their teeth out. And if the gold ones fall, you pick up the gold teeth. There's 10 per level. And those teeth give you the ability, I think they give you the ability then to use these points to upgrade your guy. So at the beginning, again, very basic. You run, you punch, and you can parry. It's like block. That's it. Yeah. I've only gotten about 6 or 7 powers so far. I can now do the block, parry, and then 3 quick, like Jackie Chan punches. Pop, pop, pop in the face, knock the guy down. Or chop to the throat. They seem to be randomized, so it's always kind of a little bit exciting to see which counter you pull off.
Mm-hmm.
And I now got one where if you're anywhere near a surface and you pull off a combo, it'll automatically let you do a finisher. But it will automatically initiate it for you. You don't have to remember to hit the button. If you're out in the open, you have to remember to do that. But if you're anywhere, well, here comes the bathroom scene. Right next to a sink, 3-hit combo. My guy grabs the guy back of his head, wham, right through the sink, breaks the sink, drops the guy on the ground. One of the first little mini bosses is called Little Tony. Again, doesn't take itself too seriously. You break into his office, couple thugs, guy with a gun. This Uncle Tony guy's kind of a heavier guy, a little more hit points. You can pick up a weapon and use it, or you can throw anything in the game. There's folding chairs, bags of garbage, cell phones, whatever you grab, beer bottles. I had been throwing stuff like nightclub or, billy clubs or PR-24s and stuff and like bouncing them off guys' heads, knocking them over.
Yeah.
Well, on the stream, I didn't think about it. I had the knife. The guy's like, hey, come here. I think he's almost gone. I throw the knife. Just chunk right in his head, falls over. I'm like, wait, did that stick in his head? And sure enough, I spin the camera around because it lets you take photos. I spin it around. Sure enough, the guy's laying on the ground. The knife's just stuck right in his skull. A little bit of blood. As they slash you get little marks and little blood marks and stuff. It sounds dramatic, like, oh my God, you're bleeding and you're throwing knives in people's skulls. But it's very sort of PlayStation 1 style graphics. Mm-hmm. It's not super realistic. Super quick and fun. and I only played like 5 or 6 levels just to kind of play for the first time last night.
Yeah.
And it's just a good time. Uh, it's not like your Streets of Rage or your trying to think of other games in that genre, but Final Fight, things like that, left to right, Turtles games and the
Right.
Simpsons game, left to
Yeah.
right
Ghosts and
brawlers.
Goblins.
Yeah, similar enough, yeah.
Mm.
But it's the presentation's kind of neat so far. Great, again, if you're a fan of that kind of music, like house-based electronica music. The soundtrack is fantastic. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Fun was watching me as I played. And when I went upstairs when I was done, I was talking to her about it. She's like, I was really getting into the music. Made me want to like go out and fight someone. She's already a big fan of the music. So this game is called Midnight Fight Express.
Okay.
And it's, again, if you're a Game Pass person, it's free to download. I mean, you can't go wrong there. So again, you can download it for free. Doesn't take much to get into it. And it gives me a little bit of those Batman fighting vibes, which I love that style of fighting, with a little bit of the left to right scrolly fighting games from when we were kids, but in this other viewpoint. And it's just neat. I wish I could throw. I still have to figure out how to put up a third window here so I can show visuals while I'm talking about stuff.
Yeah.
So you can see it. But again, everything we talk about, including Better Call Saul and other things, I'll include links below where you can hit and watch trailers for stuff or scenes from the shows or movies or whatever that we're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also download this on Steam. I think it's like $20 to purchase, and it's available on PlayStation as well. But again, if you're a Game Pass person, it's gratis right now as long as you're a member of Game Pass. But yeah, it's a fun time. If you want to basically live a John Woo, Jackie Chan movie, it's good. It's a good time.
Okay. What's it called again?
Midnight Fight Express.
Midnight Fight Express. Okay.
I haven't checked yet, but I told Mrs. Fun, like, go on Spotify or whatever you stream music on. And a lot of these games now, because they're independent, not only do they sell the game, but they'll sell the soundtrack. Smart. Like, you're making all that effort. This is one dude doing this. So look around. Midnight Fight Express. The soundtrack might even be available to stream or purchase. I would do it just for that. I fully endorse it. Not that I'm being paid, but it's fun and the music is great if you like that stuff.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. So my number 2. I've been doing the shopping during the pandemic, and so every week I always, especially now with shops taking advantage of the inflation period that we had been in, everyone raising their prices and whatnot, more frequent than ever. I always did for the last 2 years. You look at the sale papers, and you go to Jewel and whatnot. Jewel being our local Chicago grocery store, one of many, but Jewel, which you have right here by the house. And so going through the package, they always have, or the sale papers, they always have those sales of like, you buy 5 of these items, you get them at these prices, but you got to buy 5, and it's mix and match, all that kind of stuff. And usually you look through there and like, okay, I need that and I need that, but then you struggle to find something else that you need to fill out the 5. Like, I could buy 2 of that, I could buy 2 of that, but I need 5. So I don't need Nutter Butter ass candy or whatever the hell it is. I
like Nutter Butters, but I don't know if I like Nutter Butter ass candy.
It's a brand new. It's cherry flavored.
Cherry ass.
Cherry ass. Sure. Yeah, exactly. It's just perfect.
Chef's kiss.
Exactly. It's cherry. So I was looking through it, and I'm just like, okay, well, I can get 4 things here. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's interesting. That could be a nice little treat. Let me try. Let's see that. Any kind of ice cream, concoctions and whatnot. The 2 for $6. There's nice ice cream things and whatnot. But this is specifically something that I usually don't buy because I don't eat a lot of treats, so to speak. It's nothing to do with the intermittent fasting. It's just I just don't. There was a while there I'd be into desserts, but I rarely just get like popsicles or something like that. So looking at the thing, I went and I found something called ICEE floats. Okay?
Like ICEE, the ICEE brand.
That you get, that you get at movie theaters and stuff like that, and it's basically like a push-up. The orange sherbet push-ups, basically.
Those are great.
One. The orange push-ups are classics. They've always been fantastic. So so it's basically like that. And so ICEE float, I'm like, well, okay, they got cherry, they got blue raspberry. I happen to be a blue raspberry fan. I'll get that. Nice little push-up with blue raspberry. Okay, so I get that as part of the thing. What I didn't quite realize at the time is that the ICEE float is a spin-off of it in itself of the ICEE push-up brand. The ICEE float comes in cherry or blue raspberry, but in it float, keyword, vanilla ice cream.
Okay.
So there's a vanilla flavor with the blue raspberry. You want to talk about chef's kiss, my friend. Basically, it is a small version of my Dairy Queen drink of choice, which is called an Arctic Freeze, but it's basically a Mr. Misty, or what it used to be called a Mr. Misty float, mixed together. Okay.
Soft serve and the iced slushy flavored drink.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All mixed together. And I took my first bite into this thing, and I'm like, this is going to be on my shopping list for the rest of my life. It is literally a perfect little treat. It recalls one of my two favorite ice creams of all time. One of them being what used to be referred to at Baskin-Robbins as chocolate mint, is now referred to commonly as mint chocolate chip in all incarnations. I love mint chocolate chip ice cream. It's my favorite ice cream. There used to be an ice cream at Baskin-Robbins called raspberry sorbet and cream. Yeah. They had it there for years, at least in the Elk Grove store where they had it, the little...
We're by the old Jewel.
Yeah, the old
Jewel.
The
barbershop was right over there, too.
Correct. Yeah. Barbershop, and then the video store, the little video store there.
Ben Franklin was over there.
Ben Franklin was
not
over
the person.
There. That's right. And it was raspberry sorbet and cream. And I used to get a ton of this shit. like there's like you used to get the quart or whatever, and that was satisfying. No, I got we used to get the big party size thing.
Would you reach behind the counter and get that big cardboard thing that they insert into the freezer with all the ice cream in it? It's 5 gallons.
I just jumped over. I'm just put it in there. But I used to get this thing, and I would just sit there on summer days, watching Fletch or Fish Called Wanda or Aliens or something, and just be shoveling it in. Just a perfect ice cream as far as I'm concerned. And this is blue raspberry, which only makes it better.
Raspberry sorbet and cream. So was the raspberry sorbet almost like a raspberry sherbet?
Yes.
And then it had the cream, which I'm assuming is soft serve or ice cream, and it was twirled?
Yeah, it wasn't French vanilla. It was just regular vanilla twirled in. So it was a blend of raspberry sherbet and vanilla ice cream. And it was perfect. It was just perfect. And the blue raspberry icy floats, you have a customer for life. Six to a package. Cost me I think it was on sale when I got it, so $3.49 or something like that. And they don't last as long as you'd like, but I would say it's a perfect little treat.
Is it it's built like a push-up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bigger than a push-up. It's it's about yay big. Push-up, it's just a little tube with a stick and you just push it up. This one is more like a I would call it a freeze pop, but you would eat it like a freeze pop. It doesn't have a push-up stick to it. So you just you push from the bottom, just let it
You might want to stop doing that. I'm just saying.
Really? Just a little like this? I'm a trombone player, asshole.
So yeah, but it's in a clear tube like an ICEE?
It's not in a clear tube. It's in a paper tube. Okay, I'm doing it again, right?
Yes, you are.
I'll move my hands down here, and I was like this.
I don't know if that's any better.
Yeah. Well, how else the fuck are you supposed to eat the goddamn thing?
That's what I didn't know. I didn't know if it was like
in your mouth.
That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like a sundae. You know, like the older sundaes, they had like the ice cream with the topping on it of some sort of chocolate or caramel or whatever. So it's like a sundae with a spoon, or this is more like a squeeze pop kind of thing, or a push up or a whatever. You eat it more like that than you would a sundae, like with a spoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, so it's just so you just and it's got only so much in it, so it's however fast you eat it or whatever. But then it has a little bit of melted at the bottom, and you just drink that up at the end, and it's like you're drinking the drink of Dairy Queen all over again. ICEE floats. I'm hoping that it's a spin-off that lasts. I hope it doesn't just, not that there's anything wrong with an ICEE red or an ICEE blue, but you add that little bit of vanilla ice cream to it, and it becomes a whole different taste sensation in your mouth.
Well done.
Did I stick the landing on that one?
Nice flourish at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now if you got to see my ICEE sex machine, it is just fantastic.
That also leaves a residue at the end.
It does leave a residue.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to drink that though.
No.
Yeah, I'll have to look for him. I'm not a huge ICEE guy, although the Dairy Queen drink always intrigued me because I was like, that's kind of cool, the vanilla soft serve with the ICEE in it.
Yeah.
And then recently,
so refreshing.
Can't remember when we were near there, but we were near a popular drive-through fast food chain, and they had I love sour candy, like Sour Patch Kids.
Mm-hmm.
They had a Sour Patch Kid watermelon Sour Patch Kid float. And in essence, the Sour Patch Kid was the like ICEE stuff.
Okay.
And it swirled it like a swirl machine would. And but then at the top, they just had crushed sour candy. Like sprinkled on the top. And so it's very similar to that Dairy Queen drink. So very similar then, I guess, to this thing you're talking about.
Right.
And that was really good. So now these are like mass produced. They're just in the store. Did the packages say like new? Like it was a new thing? Like here, try this new thing?
I didn't catch that. I mean, I've seen the ICEE logo and the brand in the popsicle aisle before. I never really paid much attention to it. Like I said, I usually don't get a lot of popsicles and things like that. Although the strawberry shortcake thing is always very tempting every time I see that box of Good Humor strawberry shortcakes.
I have a couple in the freezer.
Those are right. That's a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Ice cream item as well. But I never noticed it, and even just the float, you would think that it would just pop in your head. That usually means ice cream or vanilla ice cream. I didn't even think about it, and so like when I pulled it off and I saw, I'm like, oh, there's vanilla ice cream on it. And I took my first bite. I'm like, oh yeah, that's where it's at.
Big blue raspberry guy then.
Yeah, I'm a big blue raspberry.
Yeah,
I love that was my favorite part of the snow cone. Everyone goes to the cherry. I mean, cherry's great.
You
too.
dabble.
Yeah, you dabble. Yeah, and it goes great together.
Sure.
As well. But if I had my choice of a Slurpee, or an ICEE in a movie theater, I would go with the blue over the red. Yeah, I like there's a sweet and sour taste to it that I like very much.
Well, now that you said that, another fast food chain that now sells a lot of different slushy type drinks.
Sonic.
We could. That was actually the Sour Patch Kid watermelon one.
Oh, okay.
Taco Bell has like 8 or 9 different flavors of slushy drink they sell.
Really?
Now. Oh yeah, a ton. And they're constantly changing them, adding this, adding that. Like in the summer, they had like tropical fruit and cherry, so it was like pineapple-y and cherry, and it swirls it, so you get the red and or they half and half it, so it's like swirled in the cup. For a while, they had I think it was a sour raspberry and cherry. They called it like a midnight something, midnight sundown freeze or something.
Mm.
And so it was sweet like cherry, like I like, but then it had the sour taste as well. So if you kind of swish the glass around, when you took it in, you would get the sweet, and then all of a sudden it would turn sour. And I love sour candy. So I was like, oh, see, this is perfect. Get the sugar high and then the sour right after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blue raspberry.
Yeah. Blue raspberry. Where it's at.
I didn't like the blue raspberry lollipops. People used to eat those, turn your tongue blue and all that stuff. I never used to eat those.
I never really had a lot of those. I don't really recall those so much. But like a blue raspberry Jolly Rancher.
Yeah.
Blue. Oh yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. Yum.
Yum.
At the Cubs game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We had the alcohol slushies. the photo that you saw.
And they had a blue raspberry?
Well, they had, it was red or blue.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, the red, I had the blue. Yeah, I had the blue tongue.
Of course.
Yeah, it was delicious. Vodka. I'm not even a drinker, but it was great.
You were that day.
I was very good that day.
Mine does not have to do with fruit flavored drinks. However, it may be sour because it makes you cry, or I don't know. I'm trying as hard as I can to make a segue. I can't. So I've already talked about this, but so this is my first pseudo repeat, because it's not really a repeat, because it is sort of its own thing. I got an extra dose of something that already made me happy. I got more of it unexpectedly, and that made me very happy.
Okay.
So the last time we talked, one of the things I was talking about was Sandman.
Yes.
And we tore through that in that Saturday and I think Sunday. I think we saw some Friday night. We may have been done by Saturday. I think we started Friday, watched 5, Saturday, watched 5, and we were done. It was 10 episodes, and we talked about it. And, I talked about the comic and how influential it was in my life, and in general, it's one of my favorite pieces of media, period, and it probably always will be. It and its tertiary stuff, Death, High Cost of Living, the Death comics, the Dreaming comics, Constantine, Time now, all that stuff, but especially Sandman. So I got to see the show. I liked it a lot. Maybe it's not perfect, and I get it, but I think universally it was well liked. I heard it was the by overwhelming amounts one of the highest streamed shows all that week. It was like they were saying it's one of the most consumed pieces of media or streaming media that week on all of the internet. So clearly I wasn't the only person who was either A, excited to see it, or B, watched it multiple times or whatever. And then unexpectedly, in between that time, so I already talked about it, how much I liked it. Good. Unexpectedly, they dumped an 11th episode. And one of the things I talked about last time was, were they going to be brave enough? The comic is slow. It's not a superhero comic book. It's about the god of dreams, a 90s emo goth guy who talks to his librarian and his pet crow. You're not going to get a lot of punching and kicking and car chases in this show. I mean, and so if that's what you're looking for, you're probably not going to enjoy it. But I said, I wonder if they'd be brave enough if they're going to do some of the interstitial stuff, the stuff that is even more esoteric than the comic itself. Like, there was an entire issue about a cat. And you're like, huh? Like, yeah, it's not part of the main story. It's just a little sprinkling, a little flavor to show you the world. It's a world-building issue. Dream doesn't just, everyone sees those videos of the dogs dreaming and having a nightmare and their legs go crazy, or a cat wake itself up because it's scared or whatever. You when you think about it, it was about this god of dreams and these people and otherworldly gods, but living in the world of man, and they're back and forth. You don't think the cat's dream, it shows you that Morpheus is ever present. The god of dreams even speaks to cats. No one is beneath him. The dreams are so important. Everybody, every living thing that can dream, can enter the world of the dreaming and talk to Lord Morpheus. And it was a whole issue about a cat. And I'm like, we'll see. It's one of those episodes like, yeah, we didn't want to do the cat thing, and we didn't think people would get it, or it wasn't important to the main story. And some executive would be like, don't waste our money animating that or doing it live or whatever. Someone would talk someone out of it. Just so happens, the extra episode is the cat episode. I literally said, I wonder if they're going to be brave enough to dedicate a full half hour, 45 minutes to a cat. And they did. And on top of that, they dumped the Calliope episode on top of it. It shows you that Morpheus was, quote, married, had a child, and what this other god, and that he's mixed with the pantheon of gods that we were all taught. Calliope is what? One of the 13 daughters of Zeus. And turns out Dream and her were together, and they had a son. And their son was now, we were talking about that. I was talking to Morgan, who's been on the show, and she had some views about maybe what she did or did not like or whatever. And I had said, now we have a little more context. It says in that episode, that maybe Lucifer, that confrontation you saw, there's some more context that Calliope episode sort of gives you. And I really enjoyed it. Mrs. Fun was like, that was really good. I'm like, this is only the first season. Like, we hopefully have more of this if Netflix doesn't screw this up like they're prone to do and only give you 2 seasons of something and cancel it. Were you able to? I don't think you said. I think we confirmed you haven't watched any of it yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. I'm catching up on a whole bunch of other shows at the moment,
Sure.
And I've added it to my list of TV shows to watch, and I will. But I'm catching up on some recommendations from like 2 months ago now. So
Severance is on ours still. We gotta catch. We gotta watch Severance.
Yes,
But yeah, it was just such an unexpected surprise. They literally did. I want to say it was the next Friday. And they're like, hey, by the way, everybody, if you didn't notice, there's an 11th episode. And you're like, what? And they just surprise dropped it into the thing in the streaming service, and it's there. And it, they had to, they, again, because you haven't seen it, they wanted to, there are things that they can do in a comic book that maybe you don't want to do in live action. It's a little more graphic. And so, they toned some stuff down. They changed a couple things, very minor things. 90% of the thread and the importance of it and all that good stuff is in there. And they did a 45-minute or a half hour or something on the cat.
That's cool.
And it's again, I can't recommend this enough. I won't go into it again, but Sandman was huge. Still is. Yeah. It takes a grand place on my bookshelf of some of the graphic novels and stuff I have out. All of them, the compendium book, the short stories, the written book, all the other stuff that's up there. And this was just fun. It was great to wait. I can't think of another show that has ended a season and then just was like, oh, by the way, here's another episode.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody ever really doing that.
Not a new episode. Yeah, I mean, like the Jackass movies are probably like the closest thing to something like that. That like here's another movie that with all the extra footage and some documentary stuff attached to it. And
sure.
Yeah.
Or you get the movie about the movie, like the making of kind of thing.
Yeah.
They'll do that sometimes a week later, like, oh, if you want to see how, what we did. It's just cool that they did it. And I don't want to be gross and talk about like the marketing of it, but really whoever thought of that's a genius, because you get your 10 episodes, which makes sense. It's a solid number, 10. The story, yes, there is a conclusion, but there is stuff there that they can certainly go off on later. But they didn't know whether they did it on purpose or not, or maybe the animation came in late. Maybe that's why we got it later. Who cares? The deal is you get your nice solid 10 in. It turns out the thing is huge. Everybody's watching it, clearly. And then a week later, as it's starting to cool down, you drop a new episode. I'd get everybody to start watching it again. Well, if you didn't watch it last week, here's 10. Here's an 11th one. Here's 11 episodes you can binge now or whatever. Like, it's I don't want to the gross marketing part of it, but if that was done on purpose, it's smart and effective, because just as not that I was forgetting, but like you tell people during the week, like you and other people, I was like, yeah, you gotta watch it.
Yeah.
And now you got a whole nother talking point. Oh, hey, there's another one. Remember the thing? You haven't watched it? There's a whole new episode. So again, it's one of those things where I know you may not have the interest. I think you'll enjoy it, but there may be things you don't like, and that's fine. But it'll be very interesting ultimately, like when you do watch it, what you think of it. It'll be interesting.
No, it's on my list. It's I get to all anything that goes on my list. I get to eventually.
Yeah.
And it takes me a few weeks or a month or so, but I do get to it. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's there, and I'll get to it.
You're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. Clearly we're very TV heavy on the show tonight, and that's okay. It's not we're not exclusively TV, and sometimes it just works out that way, but. None of this is a direct follow up to something I mentioned on the last show we did, but usually I make a point not to talk about television shows until I've seen the entire season of them, because things sometimes you can see a really great episode and then it goes in the turd flusher after that, and I don't want to hype up something and then see it go that way. So I always wait till the end. Of something that I've seen, at least. And on the last episode, the thing that I said I was most looking forward to was an upcoming documentary that they were working on about Steve Martin, a 2-part documentary that they were working on. And this week, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, Only Murders in the Building Season 2 just ended. I love this show. I absolutely love this show. It combines 2 of my favorite things: 1, mysteries; 2, one of my favorite comedians of all time. And they do such a wonderful job on the show in crafting the mystery stuff while never forgetting that at its core it is a comedy with 2 legends behind it. And that they've worked in so many other legends, so to speak, and cameos and big guest stars throughout these first 2 seasons has just been a wonderful little thing. In the second season, of all the people they got to be on the show, they got Shirley MacLaine.
Oh, really?
In season 2, yeah. And it's not a huge role, but she's in, I think she's in 2 episodes. The 10 episode season. She's in 2 episodes.
Wasn't it Sting in the first season?
Sting does show up in the first season. Yes, Nathan Lane has a recurring role.
That's right.
on the show. And there's a number of others on this season as well. And you watch Shirley MacLaine, a legend in her own right, and seeing Steve Martin, who is maybe, we talked that he's got some a little prickly stuff to him and people that he's interacted with and that I'm aware of. But you just watch him interact with Shirley MacLaine in the show, and you see that he is just beside himself in getting to share a scene. You'll see a little bit that in Saul too, actually. and it's just wonderful little things like that. And this this season, the stuff between Martin and Short, like I didn't know if they could top the finale of the first season, which has just some classic Martin physical comedy in it. I mean, he's 75 years old and he's still able to not like wild and crazy guy, all of me type stuff, but just that he still has it in him to find new areas to do physical shtick and make it new and funny. And it was so great to see it. I was just laughing my head off. There aren't a lot of shows, and I have to go through the list of shows, especially for comedies in particular, that I can say make me laugh out loud hard on a regular basis week to week. That this show does that. And again, with the mystery stuff, I love a good mystery. I love mysteries so much. I watch shitty mysteries all the time. I just love them. The shittiest mystery, and most mysteries are shitty because they're just not very good at them. But I watch them anyway. And this show is like, it has a habit, as a lot of mystery shows do, and this goes true with even the more modern ones like Veronica Mars and stuff like that, where there's a mystery per week, and they kind of steer you towards one suspect very early on, and you have to go, well, clearly it's not that person because they're fingering them, this early, so it can't be that person. And then they kind of do that week to week.
Little red herring.
Yeah, a lot of red herrings and stuff like that. So you kind of have to kind of get used to that. And that's a way of them sort of Agatha Christieing their way out of all of these suspects that they've put up. Like, here's a shocking revelation about this character, so maybe they have something to do with it, yada yada. But I have to admit that they got me on this season.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't say that lightly, because after about episode 6, I announced out loud who I thought the killer was. I'm like, I think this is where they're going with this. And after episode 9, it's appeared I was right. They were setting you up for the finale. Like, here's who it's going to be, and here's how they're going to entrap that person into whatever they're going to do. And after episode 9, I was so proud of myself. I'm like, told you. And episode 10, they pulled a switcheroo on my ass.
And it's plausible. You don't feel like, that was a trick. It was cheap. Look what they did.
Well, there's one little kind of a visual trick with episode 9. They don't give you the full, let's just say they don't give you the full spectrum of something that happens. Which, again, that's not so much of a cheat, because a lot of mysteries do that. They focus you here when you really should be, looking at the greater picture. But I was so proud of myself after episode. I'm like, yeah, see, I'm ahead of these guys. And then they went, no, we got a couple more twists for you in the final episode, and it's very satisfying. It's very funny, and then at the end of all of it, they announced for season 3. So, just not that I was going to come back anyway.
I just heard
that they're bringing Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Into season 3.
That's huge.
And you have Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Paul Rudd. No offense to Selena Gomez, who is, I think, in season 2 became a better part of the comedy. In season 1, she's more kind of a straight foil. She's kind of the straight woman, more or less. That she's sort of the voice of reason and reality.
Sure.
Martin's characterizations. And in this one, they developed her character a bit more, and her matter-of-factness became more elevated and funnier in the second season. But you're adding Paul Rudd to the third season.
Well, you're not diminishing anybody else by saying it's awesome to have Paul Rudd there.
Right.
It is. Well, it's awesome to have Paul Rudd there.
Well, I'm just saying that because I singled out Martin Short and Gomez. I mean, that's the 3.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
what's the omission was not intentional.
Right. No, I was not. Yeah, I was just saying that you have, again, Selena Gomez not a comic legend on the space of Steve Martin and Martin Short. Just that's just the way it is.
And universally, people have liked her in this show.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's
I
the best
watched.
thing I've ever. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen her act in anything else.
Okay.
I know she was on some Nickelodeon shows. I wouldn't have watched those,
Yeah.
and then I don't know what other movies she's really been in.
Yeah. She hasn't made a great impression, and I'm not saying that specifically her acting. Just the movies haven't been.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
memorable.
I couldn't even name one, so I mean that tells you. But I'm not blaming that on her.
Right.
I just don't know that they clearly were not big enough movies. That's not all on her back. That's
You never saw Monte Carlo? Wow, I had a stroke
Whoa.
there. Monte Carlo.
no.
You never saw?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought she was great in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And so to add on top of the three of them, to have Rudd, who's just fantastic,
Yeah.
show up, that's great. And did they say he's going to be there the whole season or most of the season, or is he only like? Well, he'll be there. So does that mean one episode,
No,
three episodes?
it's a. I'll just say it's a major part.
Oh, they've already gone that far into saying like it's.
I know.
Oh, you know. Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Wink,
I
wink,
know.
nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
This is something we have not watched season 2 yet at all, any of them. So that's another one that we got to go back and and binge at some point.
It's so well crafted, so entertaining. Again, half hour, 35 minutes. You're in, you're out. You get a lot of laughs. You get another piece of the mystery. I love it. I love it. One of my favorite shows right now.
It's good, I don't think Steve Martin by himself has been a topic, has he yet? I'll have to look back at the notes. I don't think we have specifically brought up Steve Martin as Steve Martin.
No,
so I won't get too into it now because I know you and I are both fans. So one of these days, one of us is going to bring him up. But how awesome is it to see him still doing stuff and different stuff, still being Steve Martin, but he's just still doing stuff, and I've never heard of any. You may not watch it, fine, but I don't think I've heard a bad thing about this show. So if you watch it, you're probably gonna like it, even if you don't love it. You're definitely gonna be like, that was fun. I like that show. I can't think of a guy who's been around that long, other than maybe Tom Hanks, where you just kind of again. I've never had to interact with Steve Martin. I don't. I know we've heard a couple stories where maybe he's a little bristly.
Yeah.
I hope that's not. It's not that I don't believe these people. I'm just saying I hope it was I had a bad day.
Yeah.
And it's a couple, and that's it. But when you talk about someone's, even as a little kid, Steve Martin has just been ubiquitous my entire life, and I'm almost 50.
Yeah.
And he was around before that.
Yeah.
So to have a career like that, it's just so great to see, and seeing him and Martin Short especially together, because they've known each other for so long and they're constantly screwed with each other. Right. To see them on TV and having him act that way, they're kind of the same people.
Yes.
Yeah, they're sort of playing themselves in a way. It's funny to see him interact with him in that show.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, again, not we're praising Rudd, we're praising Martin, but I think this is the best thing Martin Short has done. Gosh, maybe since Inner Space, and that's not, and I mean, he had a string of some really bad movies too. Martin Short, post Inner Space, when he was more, he was past SCTV and Saturday Night Live, and he was into the movies and whatnot. He made a lot of bad movies too.
Well, not every movie that Steve Martin's ever done has been.
Oh no,
great.
he's made some crap too.
Yeah,
especially some of the later stuff. But like he's like Martin Short. I mean, it's still you kind of see Martin Short in it, obviously, but the character that he's playing in this egotistical play theater director, and all the knowledge that he supposedly has. I'm just thinking of moments that pop up in this season that he just shows up and you just start laughing.
Yeah.
And I mean the fact that like the two of them turn at one point they turn the Iran Contra thing into like a whole joke, where they know all of the players from the
Okay.
Iran Contra thing, and Selena Gomez is like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And the two of them are naming all the names and all the people.
You mean Ollie North? You don't know Ollie North?
Yes. They're just talking to each other. They just like talking to each other like they're talking about like some movie or something. And just like, and yes, and like, Weinberger and all these people, and they just keep bringing up names, and she's just saying like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It's so good. When Martin Short in the first season, when Martin Short tells that story about the disastrous like Cirque du Soleil like play that he directed, and he says that all the people kept diving into the shallow pool or something like that, and they're just like plop, plop, and then Steve Martin goes, "All 12?" Oh, just stuff like that. They're fantastic. The show's fantastic. Just watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we liked the first one, so it's definitely going to be something we're going to continue. My number 3, it's sort of a theme, more TV. In this case, it's also sort of an offshoot of something I've talked about before, similar to your last one.
Okay.
I mentioned that I watched season 2 of I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson.
Right. Yeah.
And we got to watch the car parking lot little skit. I showed it after we ended the podcast, and we watched it, and with him yelling and screaming. And Sam Richardson from Veep and After Party and stuff like that.
Love him. Great.
After Party, it's so funny to see how different he is, because in After Party he plays sort of the straight guy. Like he gets a little manic, and he's, running around kind of because things are going on around him. But him in I Think You Should Leave he's out of control, Sam Richardson. And he's just as excitable as Tim Robinson, and on occasion. Baby of the Year one, he's fantastic at that. He's some other ones. Yeah, he's just as crazy as Tim is, which is great, because I had said that I had never watched it, and I was going to make plans to. They did a TV show together before this, and it was actually, I didn't know this. I thought it was Tim Robinson's show. Mm-hmm. Turns out it was created by Sam Richardson. Okay. And it's called Detroiters.
Yeah,
and I think it originated on Comedy Central, and it's now on Paramount Plus. And I wanted to go back because I just want more Tim Robinson, because he just makes me laugh, and so does Sam, for that matter. Now that I've seen him in those skits on, I liked him in After Party, but seeing him being as crazy as Tim on I Think You Should Leave made me really want to go back and watch Detroiters, and so I did. And I'm about, I would say, 8 or 9 episodes in. There's only 2 seasons, so it's not going to take you very long to binge it, and it's gone, because they're probably never going to make any more. And the gist of it is Tim Robinson's dad was an old ad guy, and when he passed away, he gave his ad agency to Tim Robinson. And Tim Robinson and his buddy, Sam Richardson, play these 2 friends who run an ad agency, like a local Detroit kind of, they're not fancy. They're not gajillionaires driving fancy cars. They're just these 2 guys who hang out and do local ads. And so the very first one is, I think it's like a sofa place. Mm-hmm. And it's so low budget, they just have like a pail of hot water, because they wanted to show how hot the deals were. And they just pour the hot water on this guy's head. And he's like, hey, screaming. It's the show producer for the old Conan show.
Okay.
He plays the sofa guy. Anyway, but then he thanks him, of course, afterwards. And it's all low budget. The commercials look like garbage. They look like late night ads. But it's not about the ads so much. It's about them being idiots. And so Tim Robinson's character is married to Sam Richardson's sister in the show. And they buy a house. It looks like a Chicago flat, like the stone brick, the 2-story brick Chicago suites. and Sam Robinson buys the crappy house next to them, and he's rehabbing it. So they talk to each other through the windows on the second floor through their bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just them being morons. One of them is all Sam. Just as an example, one of the episodes is I just showed it to Mrs. Fun before I came down here because she's like, "What show were you watching tonight?" We were laughing because she was already in bed and I was up late. And she's like, "Is this the show?" I said, "Yeah, you got to watch this." Sam Richardson's character is jealous that he's alone. He doesn't have someone in his life. And, of course, Tim is rubbing it in. He's like, how come you can't find someone? And as he's doing that, more women from the bar try to talk to Sam, and Tim keeps going, so that's what you do? You just interrupt people? And he keeps yelling at the people that come up to try to talk to them. And Sam, and they're all girls. And, Sam's like, hey. And then Tim interrupts and yells at the women. You got to go. You're interrupting our conversation. Through a turn of events, Sam ends up alone because Tim goes home to the wife. And as he's walking around, he meets a woman who buys him a drink. And it turns out it's a local congresswoman or councilwoman who, takes him home. They have a nice night. But when she leaves in the morning, she drops money on the dresser and she's like, thanks for the night, and just walks out. So, of course, Tim starts calling Sam now. It's two guys talking about guys, not talking about women or talking about the profession, but he calls him a whore. He's like, you're a man whore. He's like, I'm not a whore. He goes, she gave you money. No, I'm not. It's about, though, the fact that he starts perceiving himself as being a sex worker. And so he starts dressing in a monotone suit. It's all blue. And he's like lifting weights at work with like a mesh shirt on. And he's like lifting. He's like, oh, I got to get, I'm getting buff. It's absolutely crazy. And it's them being ridiculous. So if you at all liked, if you watched, I think you should leave at all, or you like Sam on those other shows, imagine a more, he seems to be the more normal of the two idiots on the show. But again, he still has his moments because when she goes to break up with him and explains to him that I have a husband, they're at a fancy, like a, not an art show, but like a museum. Mm-hmm. When she says, you got to go, my husband's here. He's like, oh, so I'm just a big swinging, and he just starts screaming at the top of his lungs in this thing. I'm just a thing with a giant knot at the end of it, with big pendulous nuts. And he's making a giant scene for this councilwoman because he now feels shamed that she paid him for sex, and how dare you treat him like that. It's so far it's really funny. There's been a couple good episodes where they actually deal with more of the advertising and their creative ability to make fun ads. The security guy at the desk is always pitching them, so they're finally like, I don't want to deal with this guy upstairs. Go get the security guard to pitch him. And he ends up making one of the most famous commercials in the local area. And so he's like, I'm leaving. They're like, you're not even employed here. He's like, that's okay. It's funny, but it's more of a sitcom. It's not a sketch show. But the little interstitial stuff to get you from one scene to the next acts very much like the skits from I Think You Should Leave, but in obviously written more like a comedy. What's the right word? A sitcom, as opposed to a sketch show. So it's called Detroiters. It's available on Paramount Plus. I think it might be available other places, but
I know people that really like that show. They used to talk about it. It was one of those because I think it was used to premiere like late on Central. So it was just something I never got to. But yeah, Sam Richardson he's one of those guys right now that he's wherever he goes, something funny follows. From Veep to the After Party, which I love, Detroiters. You sent me that the Baby of the Year sketch, which is just fantastic. Just everything. He's in a movie that came out last year that's actually based on a video game called Werewolves Within. Is it Within? I think it's Werewolves Within. It's here somewhere.
Never heard of that.
Ever heard of that? Hold on.
There's Evil Within.
It's not Evil Within.
There's a deductive card game called Werewolves.
No, it's not that. I apologize. I don't have it handy at the moment. Not that I can find.
I think I have his. I think I have his IMDb up still. Whoa! No, I don't.
What happened?
My screen went crazy. You'll have to find it. Yeah, Werewolves Within. I can't even think of it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's him and Milena Vaintraub, Lily from the commercials, her, and it's a werewolf murder mystery, but it's a comedy. It's a very funny one.
That might be the card game, because that's what it is. Is you don't. It's like a whodunit deductive card game called Werewolves. Something. Yeah.
Well, there's a game. I know there's a game called Werewolf that people play, but I think I think it's a video game. Look that up.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to it.
Well, whatever it is, it's funny. You should find that too if you're a fan, obviously.
Okay.
It's very entertaining, and the whole idea of I won't spoil anything, but the message of the movie is fits into the show. I'll just say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Think positive, or at least have fun.
Be nice.
Oh, there you go.
Say that. So but there's a werewolf in it. Anyway, yeah. Okay. So what are we looking forward to?
Yeah.
Right. Let me 1 second. I want to make sure I get this correct. The exact title of it. Another thing that I love, lists. I like making them. I like seeing other people's lists, contributing to other lists. I especially like it when TV shows have turned to list making. I used to gobble up all of those AFI shows that I used to be on. I used to love those shows. That was like an event for me when those shows, and I would frequently go, "What the fuck is that doing on there?" But that's the whole beauty of lists, is that we engage, we argue, we have our own opinions. That's everyone's like, well, everyone's got a list. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. That's kind of the point. And yes, there are some really horrific ones, but that's for pissed. But coming up on the Shatter network, you familiar with Shatter?
Yeah, that's the horror themed. I don't know if it's a channel, but it's definitely a streaming service, right?
It's a streaming service, right? And I'm fortunate. You might want to hit the button on this one. That Shudder. They'll just say that they take care of their critics. They take care of us very well.
Well, hold on. They take care of you in the sense that they give you access to their stuff so you can watch it. They do not pay you.
We're not being paid like Marvel does. Right. So yeah.
Man, only if Marvel was paying us, wouldn't that be great?
They're very press friendly, and
speaking of Marvel,
right? Exactly. And we talk about on Movie Madness. We frequently review a lot of the movies that show up on their streaming service, and then it's a really great streaming service, actually, if you're a horror fan. And coming up, they've had this really great series that they had called Cursed Films. Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of the series, but I'm assuming it's talking about stuff like Poltergeist and Exorcist and
Exorcist, The Omen, and whatnot. And they have they're little half-hour episodes, and they go into the myths of the curses and the things that have happened, and how some of the things have been debunked, and all that kind of stuff. And it's really, really fun stuff. But they have a show coming out, I believe is debuting in September, and it is called the 101 Scariest Horror Moments of All Time.
Okay.
Moments, not films, moments. And I am very intrigued by that, especially that they're going to do 101 of them. I'm sure there'll be some very obvious ones.
Last one involves a Dalmatian.
A Dalmatian?
101.
Womp. Anyway. Just right over my.
Cruella itself was scary.
That's scary, yeah. Whether they consider that a horror movie or not, they can be very particular.
Yeah.
The horror crowd. But I'm curious to see if where I don't know if it's gonna rank them per se, or they're just gonna name off 101 things, and they got different filmmakers and actors and stuff who were involved with some of these things. And I mean, you can only we could rattle off 10 real easily right now, probably more than 10. But I want to see if they come up with some things that are not on my radar, maybe something that I didn't find scary that apparently messed some other people up in a different way. It'd be interesting to see if they take some of those moments and say like, well, I had a fear of this. I had the fear of abandonment or small spaces or something like that, and this is why this particularly messed me up and why they did it so well.
Sure.
So I'm really curious. I hope it's a countdown of 101 because I like rankings as well. So that's what I'm looking forward to right now.
That's pretty cool. I don't have the access to the streaming service, but that would be pretty neat to watch, especially to see, like you said, if they do end up narrowing it down to like ultimately at the end like a top 10 list. You'd be curious to see how close your top 10 was, or at least even if your 10 were in the 10, even if they're not in the same order, because there's obviously you got to have chest burst in the Alien, or the shark pop up in Jaws and the boat on the little underwater scene, or there's a million you could do. It'd be curious where they rank, and
I mean,
name 101.
Name a couple right now.
I just did. That's two.
That's still okay. Well, name a couple.
Well, yeah. I'm off top. I'm trying to think. Freddy pulling what's his name?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp through the bed, or the blood. Yeah, then the blood up into the ceiling.
That's on my list.
Yeah. Scary. I mean, obviously, Exorcist. Her walking backwards down the stairs. I think that's pretty scary.
Which is only in the director's cut.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm under pressure. I'm not a big horror movie guy. I like them, but I'm not trying to.
Yeah. Well, the horror crowd is very
particular.
No, because they're very forgiving. Like the horror crowd is
because there's violence. If this is the word scary, it has a very particular meaning to it.
Yes.
Right,
I don't think they're thinking violence. I would hope not anyway. I mean, some violence obviously can be scary.
Of course.
But I mean, like, I just say that, like the way you just described horror, not so much the way I approach it, but that whether you call it a casual fan or whatnot, there are horror fans that will swear by anything as long as it's in the genre. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, which I can't go there because the reason sometimes why I'm so hard on horror is because I know how great it can be, and too often I think that people fall back on old instincts and they're just not scary, and not interesting, and it loses something for me.
See, because you could have scary, like there's jump scares. Those are easy. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all those kinds of movies. Michael Myers.
Yeah.
You can have tense, which can be scary, but it's not a horror movie. Like Silence of the Lambs and the night vision goggles is scary. But it is also, it's more of a tense scene as opposed to, it's not a horror movie at that point. I mean...
Well, it is a horror movie.
It's a horror movie, but you know what I mean. It's not the Exorcist kind of horror movie. It's not Poltergeist kind of horror movie. It is a thriller, a tense scary, as opposed to a supernatural jump scary, that kind of thing. I mean, there's different. That's why you almost for 101. It's going to be interesting to see how particular they are about the word scary.
Well, yeah, and then I think that. Another thing that you're kind of doing right now is probably what would piss off some of the horror faithful.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because everyone, the highbrow crowd sometimes doesn't even like to use the word horror. They think that is almost like a diminished genre, like it's a very specific kind of thing that it's not elevated to an art form.
So what would they use in instead?
Well, the most popular one that even skeptics of horror kind of like go like this to, they call it elevated horror.
They just use the word elevated to elevate it?
Yes, it's called elevated horror, which means it's not horror, because you think horror, you think Jason and Michael Myers, and Halloween is well regarded, but you think slashers and horror and gross shit and whatnot. But elevated horror is like Get Out.
But it's all horror.
Yes, exactly. It's stupid. It's a stupid thing. Yes.
So again, it'll be very interesting to see how they parse that to get to 101, because 101's a lot.
Yeah.
And if you just want to do elevated horror,
right,
it's going to be hard to fill out that 101 without throwing in a Jason every once in a while, because.
Yeah, and I think that the moment when we're focused on the word moments, it's not just going to be a jump scare, not a moment that. I mean, I saw the Lion movie last week. There were a couple moments where I was like that. There's scary. There's actually some really well done moments in Beast. But like, I think that scene, if that's the Silence of the Lambs scene they would go with, because you could probably pick a couple moments in that movie.
Oh yeah.
But I think that would absolutely qualify for the list.
It would for me. Seven is a couple scenes.
The climax of 7 is, you could call it tense and whatnot. Those are the movies, for me, horror movies, the best ones are the ones that are just rising in you. The tension is just constantly building, and then every once in a while they give you a jump scare to sort of release a little bit of that tension out of you. Those are the sort of the best types of horror movies. Halloween. I've talking moments. I say the ending of Body Snatchers 78 with Donald Sutherland. That's a moment. If that's not on the list, someone's not doing their homework. It's got to be on the list. It's got to be.
Right.
I could watch it right now, actually, so I don't have to look forward to it too long.
I mean, it has horror elements in it. The fog or the mist has
both of them.
Yeah, has horror elements in it. Would you call them a horror movie? Maybe it. I don't know about the mist or the fog.
Absolutely, they're horror movies.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, those are horror movies. I mean, if there's monsters in them, I think you automatically that automatically goes in that pile. In some respect.
Well, it's the kaiju. There's scary moments in Godzilla.
Sure.
It's not a classic horror movie, but they're scary.
Well, the first one kind of is.
Yeah.
Before they got, before they became, rubber guy in a suit and stuff. And
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Mine, they just had Gamescom, which I think Jeepers Creepers. Yeah. It's hard to deal with Jeepers Creepers for a whole nother reason, Adam. I don't know if you've looked into the history of Jeepers Creepers, but the director's got some issues.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
He's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gamescom, I think it happens in Germany. It's basically the European E3 here. So like the video game expo kind of thing. So they've been making all kinds of announcements. This game wasn't announced there, but they just showed another trailer there for, I had mentioned that Batman game when I was talking about the fighting games. They were made by Rocksteady. And in this case, WB started another studio in Montreal, and they did a fourth one in that Batman series called Batman Arkham Origins. People kind of shit on it a little bit. They said, well, it's not as good as the Rocksteady versions of the trilogy. That's really the trilogy. Origin really isn't part of it. But, I mean, it uses all the art assets. I think it even uses the same part of most of the city from Arkham City, if not the city. So they used a lot of the assets but made their own game within the confines of that Rocksteady Batman universe. And they recently announced that they're making this Montreal studio that people kind of shit on. They're making a game called Gotham Knights, and as far as everybody knows, it doesn't take place in that same Arkham game universe. It's kind of its own thing. But the idea is that Batman is dead. Gotham. It's that Batman is dead. They're saying he's truly dead. He does not appear in the game, supposedly. And it's basically the legacy he's left the city. What would happen if Batman died? And the idea is you get to not only play all those other Batman games were single player. It was you being Batman, adventuring through the city, doing stuff, investigating crimes, and beating people up, because that's what he does. In this case, it's a co-op game. I think it's only 2-player co-op. It might be 4. But the idea is that all the legacy characters of Batman take center stage. So you are Nightwing, which is the original Robin, has grown up to be Nightwing. He's his own character. Jason Todd, the second Robin, became someone called the Red Hood. So he's way more violent, uses guns, which is a no-no in Batman world. He's a way more violent legacy Batman character. Then you have the new Robin. I think this one is the son, the actual son of Batman, not the Tim Drake one, but I'd have to check. And then a version of Batgirl. And so they all play and fight different. And the idea is you're going to be able to play through this whole new story of what would Gotham really be like if Batman went away. Well, how does that really impact it? Are people scared anymore? Can these 4 actually, even the 4 of them together, accomplish what one guy could do? That kind of thing. But what happens to the mansion? What happens to the Batcave? But with the technology, again, I say this a lot with games, where something like Midnight Fight Express is not meant to look super gorgeous. It's meant to look like a PlayStation 1 era game. It's it's meant to be very sort of bricky and polygony. I'm making that word up. Very original Tomb Raider-y. Triangle shoulders and that kind of stuff. But this tech, they're showing these 4K trailers of this Gotham Knights game. And Gotham Arkham Knight, which was the 3rd and final Rocksteady Batman game, looks amazing as you're driving around in the Batmobile and stuff. That like the rainy streets, you can see the reflection. It's gorgeous in 4K. But they've had years to make it even better. So much so that they're not even making these games for the slightly older systems. So you're only going to be able to play it on the PS5, the Xbox Series X, and the PC. They're not even making a version for the other consoles. They're like, we are focusing on the newest tech to make it look as nice as we possibly can from the ground up. We're not wasting our time having to make it work on both, which sometimes hinders the games on the newer, fancier systems because they got to make it kind of work for both. And man, these trailers are looking gorgeous, and the fighting looks just as visceral and good. It looks like this Montreal studio is doing their best to mimic the Rocksteady games as much as they can, which they did in Origins, but it just looks visceral. Nightwing hitting people with the sticks, or Batgirl doing her thing. It looks great, and the beauty of this is the Batman games I can only play by myself, which is great. I enjoy it. I get to play through the story and enjoy it. But with this co-op they've added, it looks like I'll be able to do it with someone else. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be super fun, especially if they add combos and things where if I can melee someone into you and then you melee them back, or you take them down, and we're 2 of us are controlling a group of people. That looks to be pretty fun. So these trailers I'm seeing this week are pretty great, and I'm looking forward to it. Should be soon. I don't know the release date off the top of my head, but it'll be in the notes and stuff, and I'll throw trailers for that in there. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, to recap, Better Call Saul, if you're not watching it, you are missing out.
Yes.
And this is it. Season 6, it's done.
Over.
So we'll see what's not Milligan.
Gilligan.
Gilligan. That's right. Vince Gilligan. What's the next thing he's got on his plate?
Mm-hmm.
Midnight Fight Express. Quick, easy to get into fighting game where you can toss knives into people's skulls and smash their heads into sinks. It's not that hard to get into it, and it's free if you're on Game Pass. So, again, entry level is nothing. ICEE floats blue raspberry. I'll have to find them.
So good.
Yeah.
I was gonna eat one during the show, but it would have been melted by the time I got to it, so I couldn't pull that trick off.
You would have had to run out and get one and then come
Yeah.
back. Sandman episode 11, the extra episode, the cat episode, as I like to call it, and the Calliope. So adds a lot to the first 10 episodes. If you haven't watched the show at all, now you got 11 of them. Murders in the Building season 2, and all the good things that come with it. Steve Martin and Selena Gomez and Martin Short.
Mm-hmm.
Detroiters, older show, but Tim Robinson's hilarious, and I'm really appreciating Sam Richardson more and more, especially in this show. He's charming and silly and funny, and he's kind of endearing. So it's a different side of him again. So it's kind of a combo between the I Think You Should Leave version of him and the After Party version of him. It's kind of in the middle there.
Okay.
And then we're looking forward to 101 Scariest Horror Moments on Shatter, the streaming service. It's a horror-based streaming service.
Yeah.
Or movie. TV, do TV on there as well?
Yeah, the TV episodic. I think that they have. I think that they have some shows. They do like Creep Show is a show. So yeah, they clearly do.
They had a Friday the 13th show for a while. They had not Poltergeist. It's not really horror, but why am I drawing a? I was gonna say Ripley's Believe It or Not, but that's not what I mean.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's fantastic. William Shatner. There's a goblin on the wing. There's a demon on the wing.
Oh, Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone and for Outer Limits, and it's not really horror, but they do horror stuff on those shows. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they had stuff like that. I was just curious.
I would call them horror. Science fiction horror.
Science fiction horror. And then Gotham Knights, the video game. Looking forward to it. So yeah, there'll be links to everything in the show notes, both on this video, if you look down at the bottom there, or if you're listening on iTunes, just go into the show notes there. Just scroll up, and there'll be the notations there on the bottom of the screen, at least on an iPhone. That's how it works. So, yeah. So thanks again. Mm-hmm. As usual, this was fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully people get some things that they hadn't thought about watching or listening to or viewing or doing.
Can I get a quick plug-in?
Of course.
Here. Since we'll have to figure out in a couple weeks, but on Wednesday in 2 weeks, I will be hosting another Critics Classic series at Elk Grove Cinema, and I'll be doing it with my Friendship Dilemma co-host, Morgan Geyer. We're going to be doing 30th anniversary of League of Their Own, the Penny Marshall film, not the TV show that's on right now. That'll be on Pissed. But the movie... The wonderful movie, we'll be doing 30th anniversary, and we'll probably be there sparring with each other as we normally do. But there's just so many good things to say about that movie, so we promise that we'll keep it fun.
Yeah, well, the movie's fun.
Yeah, it really is.
So are you guys, so it'll be a good time.
Yeah,
and that takes place at Classic Cinemas in Elk Grove Village. So if you're nearby, swing by.
Wednesday, September 7th at 7 p.m.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, everybody. See ya most likely in 2 weeks. We'll see if I start filling these midweeks in. We'll figure it out. But see you soon.
Okay.
Later.